Hello, extra time.
They point to the league not to get a hug because it damages your reputation. It makes people, when they read it, just laugh at you.
The single club, they're playing in the League One and they're playing in the Europa League and they're credit to the game in this country. Maybe we should get Slevin down to manage the Irish team.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the ExtraTime.com podcast with your host Luke Jordan. Delighted to say Dave Donnelly's alongside me. Dave, how are you?
Grand, how are you, Luke?
Yep, I'm all good and delighted to say we have another bumper episode for you all today as we look ahead to the big kick-off of the Women's National League this weekend. Dave, very excited?
Yeah, no, it's a big deal. As you know, I'm well involved in the league, so I'm excited to see it back up and running. And obviously, with the very good news that we're in the World Cup in the summer, it's going to be a big year, and I hope it's going to be very successful.
Yeah, and as we record on Sunday night, the President's Cup was today.
Yeah, it's good to see Athlone winning their first trophy in the league, and it's good to see Shells losing as well because they've been winning a bit too much recently. So yeah, I think it's nice to see different clubs winning competitions. You don't want to see one club dominating that, and so it's it's good to see it spread, and for the Athlone players, it's great to see them win a trophy.
Just to clarify, there's no anti-Shells bias on the podcast. Just clarifying that, Dave, yeah?
No,
we don't have any complaints. And also, as well, it was actually Athlone Town's highest attendance in years.
Yeah, no, it was big. Yeah, it's I know there's plans for Athlone's stadium to expand as well. So it's great to see a big crowd down there. It's great to see a big crowd for the WNL as well, and it's just great for football in Ireland in general.
Yeah, and let's get cracking. We're delighted to have on our preview show the Shamrock Rovers manager Collie O'Neill. Collie, how are you?
Not bad. Hiya, Luke, Dave. Thanks for having me.
I suppose before we start, play the game today, just back from Belfast, Collie.
Just literally in the door, back from Belfast. Yeah, another good pre-season run out. I suppose at this time, score lines don't really matter. It's about trying to new combinations, getting minutes under the belt, no injuries, trying to form some partnerships between players. So overall, good exercise today.
And how did the game go, Collie?
Lost 3-1, but again, still good positive. They were a good side, in fairness to them. They're really, really good side. So a good test for us. Good to see the standard that's up there. So that's Cliftonville and Glentoran now that we've played from up there. So it's nice to see where we stand in relation to the teams that have been up and running for a good while, particularly up north.
And I suppose in terms of the squad at the moment, I know it's an all new squad. I know a lot of them would be coming up from the 19s. But in terms of gelling the squad in the space of a few months, how has that gone so far?
In a few months, I suppose pre-season only started, I suppose, a couple of early weeks in January. So a little bit of disruption coming into play with players getting called for international call-ups and home-based squads. So over the last 10 days, we've had something like 11 players gone. So when you're doing training sessions with a squad of only 7 of players over the last week, it's a little bit hard when, the kickoff to the season is coming in, quick and fast. So hasn't been easy, but it's good to have them all back now so we can just start start getting them onto the pitch and start working on what we hope to do through the year. So it's going to take time. It's not something that's going to come quickly, but so far the enthusiasm, the application, the work rate from them has been outstanding. It's been better than I had hoped for. So from that aspect, yeah, they're gelling pretty well.
And I suppose from your perspective, like having the likes of Anya O'Gorman, Steph Roach, Lan McAvoy, having those kind of more senior players, it probably helps, I suppose, integrate a squad that is.
It does. It does. It helps a lot because obviously you've picked out some of the main senior names there, but you also have Jess Gargan and Amanda Budden as well as and Shauna Fox as some of the other senior pros, obviously joining us from from Shells. But apart from that bunch, the majority of the squad is only 16, 17, 18 years of age. So overall, we are pretty young. So there's a lot of growing still to be done in a lot of the players. So it's a good mixture of senior and youth. So hopefully we can try and get a nice gel between them. So we have that enthusiasm as well as the experience to go with it.
Just in terms of the challenges that you face, Collie, obviously, like just even hearing you speak previously, your Tom kind of that it's been maybe more difficult than anticipated building a new squad. Can you develop more further on that for you?
Yeah, it wasn't straightforward building the squad. That's for sure. But now that everybody's in, it's what we'll find now is because you take it, it's a good thing and a bad thing because we have so many players involved in international setups. It has been such a disruption to pre-season to try and get them together. But it's something that's going to come in time, and I don't think I don't think this is a year where we'll probably compete or challenge. I think it's one where we'll probably find our feet, and towards the second half of the season, we'll hope then that we'll be able to go and push on a little bit.
Just in terms of the semi-professional setup, can you speak a bit about that? Because people are very interested listening. Obviously, this is the first time it is the first time an Irish women's team is going to be semi-professional. There's a bit of money involved. Can you develop further what maybe the training regime is like? How many contact hours are the players doing? Gym sessions, like how much is involved for players this year?
Yeah, well, I suppose we have an awful lot of the squad are in the home-based training session, so that's one session taken up for them. So on top of that, we're doing an additional 4 days as well. So overall, the majority of the squad is doing 5 days a week. It's not just even the contact hours or the amount of training that they're doing that makes it a little bit more professional. It's more nutrition, making sure that they're eating the proper foods, particularly even after training. We would, supply food to them, and we have a Tuesday night, particularly where we all stay afterwards and we have a meal within Roadstone itself. It's having physios at every training session. It's having the access to our own gym with our own strength and conditioning coach, not somebody that we're renting out a gym down the street somewhere and you're doing it every now and then. It's on a consistent basis, and everything is monitored from GPS trackers to the strength programs that they're on. So everything is recorded, and then we work on a little program. We'll see how they are. We'll work on it again to make sure that we're getting to the certain levels that we want to be getting to. So it's not just about the contact hours. It's about everything else that goes around being in an environment in and around Roadstone.
And you mentioned there obviously the contact hours, but in terms of, I suppose, the all round program, like I know a lot of the girls would be in school or would have jobs. So
yeah.
Are you in early in the morning, or are you in the evenings, or?
No, it's evenings. It's like any kind of program that you would be on if you were probably a first division men's team. So majority of them would either be in college or would be working, and then you're looking at a 6:30 start for your training sessions in the evening. So it's trying to have that balance around what you have to do to make a living, as well as then trying to get the hours of the football in for them as well.
And you'd have plenty of experience in that, obviously, with UCD, where you were working with players who were ostensibly amateur, but they were in college, but they had all the facilities, all the best in the world. So, like, is this a similar setup?
There's so much that is similar. It is scary because, yeah, within UCD, you would have had the top sports scientists. You would have all the good facilities. A lot of them would be in and around the same age profile. But I suppose one of the big things that's similar from UCD to being in Shamrock Rovers is in UCD, most years I was rebuilding a team from the start anyway, because the other clubs had come in and taken them. So this time round, I'm rebuilding a club again. It just seems to be one of those things that I seem to spend most of my time rebuilding clubs. But hopefully this time around, if they do well, I won't be losing too many of them to other clubs within the league.
And do you think that maybe that was the reason Rovers brought you in, that they realised that you are very capable of doing what they want to do?
Yeah, I never actually really asked them as to why me. I never got into the actual full details of it. I assume they have some sort of reasons, but I think it would probably come down to style of play as well. Probably the manner that I have and how I approach players, talk to players. So I'm sure there's plenty of things there as the reason why they approached me. No, I wouldn't say my charm and personality was one of them anyway.
I think you're being too harsh yourself, Collie. You're being far too harsh yourself. Just in terms of getting involved with Shamrock Rovers, Collie, when was the initial first contact? Because obviously you're still involved in the men's game only very recently as a coach with Bray up under Pat Devlin. So when was the first contact with Shamrock Rovers and you heard the project?
I finished in Bray probably about June of last year. That was enough of that for me. And then it would have been around September, I think Jason made contact with me. So there would have been a good couple of weeks there where if I wanted to accept the role, I wanted to make sure that I did my homework properly and that I knew what I was getting into. So I spent the next 4 weeks going to loads and loads of games, seeing what the standard was like and where I might be able to do certain aspects of different players, different teams, their approaches, the style of play. And then it would have been probably around mid-October. Then I said, yes, okay, we'll go for it.
And just in terms of I suppose, moving from men's to women's football, I'd be involved with DLR Waves. I know Graham Kelly very well. He's in UCD. So I know how much he's involved in women's football. How much were you kind of paying attention to the game and the players?
I would have probably known an awful lot of the main senior players. I wouldn't have known an awful lot about the extra players or too much of style of plays of different teams. I would have seen a few games, but I wouldn't have been overly knowledgeable on it. So I had to do an awful lot of homework to try and go and catch up, particularly once I had said yes, and then to try and find out who was going to be my targets of players that to approach that would slot into what we hope to achieve in Shamrock Rovers.
Well, football is football, obviously. So, a player is a player. So, how seamlessly have you slotted into the role?
It's not a player as a player. It was more trying to get the players with the right mindset and attitudes that would easily slot into what we hope to do. For me, you can have all the skill in the world, but unless you have a good growth mindset, I don't think you can be really part of what Shamrock Rovers is looking to do. So the utmost or the top of the list for me was players' attitudes. So there was an awful lot of homework needed to be done to find out what was the makeup and the character of the players before we looked to bring them in.
But it helps when you can sign 5 internationals in one window.
It does help. It helps a lot. But I think it's not just the skill set, it's also the attitude, and thankfully those internationals that we did bring in have that mixture of both of good mindset and ability.
Collie, were you apprehensive making the move into the women's game, or like, say for example, did you have maybe harbour ambitions still to get back involved in the men's game? Because I think it's quite well recognised you've done a very good job at UCD, and maybe people look back and say you're quite harshly treated by you were dismissed as manager. So, like, did you have yourself the ambition to get back involved in the men's game?
I did, but I think once a club like Shamrock Rovers comes looking for you, it's not something that you can turn down very lightly. And then what added more, what you call it, spice or interest to it is that you were building something from the ground up. So it was a complete startup of a company. It's not many times in your whole career you're going to be told, we're going to build a whole new football team. Would you like to build it from the ground up? Most of the time you're coming in and you're changing 2 or 3 players, so you're taking over from a previous manager, and you might need to get 3 or 4 out and then, 5 in. But to have the chance to try and build it completely from the ground up is not something that comes around very often. So I think that was the big enticement for me.
When you were doing your homework for the 4 or 5 weeks, looking at the games and going around the grounds, in terms of your opinion, were you surprised at the standard? Is it a standard you expected, or what were you thinking when you were watching the games?
I could see that the attitude was good. The players had a good willingness to do the right things. I just felt that there was, I wouldn't even say there was felt anything lacking. It was more, I think there was extra that you could get out of them. It came across that you were trying to do the right things. But I think there was if you could just do the extra training sessions, build up your technique a little bit better, maybe being coached in another way. You could see that there was a good basis there already built.
And is that just down to maybe the level of coaching, that there's far more men's coaches than women's coaches, that maybe the standard is a little bit higher in men's coaching?
No, I don't think the emphasis has been fully there on the women's football yet. And I think with the growth of the international team, it'd be nice to see some more top quality coaches coming into the women's league to help develop it, to help bring it on a little bit more. It was amazing even when the Fiera brought us out to have a look at one of the home-based training sessions. And one of the other coaches had said to me that you don't realize that even by someone like me entering into the league has made all of the other managers go, shit, we better do an extra little bit of work this year. So it's such a simple little thing by someone else coming in that all of a sudden they feel they need to up their game. Well, me on the other side, I'm going, shit, I have to even double what I would normally do to try and play catch up to what the experience that these guys already have. So hopefully at the end of all of it, it's the players and the women that will actually gain out of this, with everybody doing the extra little bit of work.
Well, I think what's really good with Rovers is that they've invested in making sure they get a really, really good coach. And there's a lot of really good coaches around the league, the likes of Graham Kelly and Noel King and Tommy Hewitt, who was obviously nominated for awards last year. He's done great work at Athlone and won the President's Cup on the weekend. So it does seem like everything is on the up at the moment.
It does. And I think there's greater strides still to be made. I think this is really only the kick on of it. I think you'll probably find over the next couple of years, particularly with the semi-pro contracts coming in, the standard beginning to raise, open up, that you might have more and more coaches coming from you, and you probably get the interchange. People coming into the women's league and going back to the men's and it changing over. So it's all about sharing ideas and knowledge, and hopefully it's something that the players can gain from.
And how does it feel? I suppose I alluded to it earlier, but working with the likes of Anya, who's probably going to be going to a World Cup in a few months.
Hope so.
How does it feel working with players of that caliber who, I suppose, and helping them prepare for what's going to be one of the biggest tournaments in the world?
I don't think I can do anything extra to help Anya or the likes of Abby Larkin be better than what they are, because they're already really, really, really good players. I think that has been already done by the previous coaches. But to have the likes of Anya, Steph, Jess Gargan, Shauna Fox in and around the squad, they help bring what the standard is. So us as coaches, we're trying to set a new bar, and we're trying to set high expectations for the players. But these players are already wanting to deliver on that level for us. So we don't have to manage the dressing room, really. They're nearly self-driving it for us, because they're hungry and they want to go where we want to go to. So there's been very little management involved with the players themselves. They've come in, they've hit the ground running themselves, and they've actually been driving it nearly themselves already.
Does that change it for you? Because obviously, coming through at UCD and Cabinteely Bray, like you're working with young players who have maybe, they haven't won trophies and stuff like that in their senior careers. And now you're coming into a club where you have a squad full of leaders who have been there and done that.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It makes my job much, much easier. I remember the year we won it with UCD, it was the same. I was literally just turning up on a Friday night to pick the team, and that was nearly all I had to do. It was like a runaway train. It was just going itself, and it's nearly reflective here already in Shamrock Rovers. When you have good pros like that, they're the ones that set the standard. So it's not even me, and it helps with me then being able to concentrate on the final little things, the extra little coaching points, so that at least I can try and help in some sort of shape or form. But the those kind of players, they don't get the justification of how good they are. And I know people just see them on the pitch and what they can do on the pitch, but off the pitch, these players are top pros. They really are.
And I know you're a good draw man, but given that you've
from Mead allowed.
Sorry, go ahead.
From Mead or Loud?
Mead, yeah. But
Okay.
I know you for UCD you've coached probably half the UCD men's team at this point. So was it a natural progression to come to Shamrock Rovers?
Uh, no, I don't think it was an absolute natural progression. But it's nice to meet up with a lot of the old players in and around Shamrock Rovers. So it does make the place feel a little bit more homely when you have so many familiar faces around the place.
And do you kind of I know the men's team train in the morning, you train
Yeah.
in the evening, but do you kind of meet up? Do you?
Oh,
do
we
you
do, yeah, yeah.
interact?
During over the weekends, and that will be some maybe you know cross sync or certain things would happen, and to show you even the kind of culture that's around the place. I think one of our very first evenings, when we were there and we got the whole women's team together, in comes Stephen McPhail and Stephen Bradley and Glenn, just to introduce themselves to the women's team and meet them all and welcome them to the club. So there is a very big family feel around the place, and you can feel it once you walk in those doors that you're part of something special within Shamrock Rovers, and there's a high expectation that is there, and people just go about trying to deliver on those expectations.
Yeah, that was actually my question to Collie was, how much contact have you had with the men's team in terms of the coaching staff there? Would it be in constant communication?
Yeah, no, Bradza, McPhail, Glenn, they're fully open to any questions, any help that you need. You'll see Glenn and Bradza there most evenings, as well as the kids are out there in the academy, and they are always there for advice. And they say it all the time. You need anything, drop out, cup of coffee, cup of tea, we'll have a chat. They are fully open. You can't meet better people in and around the game.
And I know you said earlier that your expectations for the season are kind of just to consolidate and just I suppose do well. But like, do you have in your own mind? Do you have a target for this season? Like, do you expect a challenge, or do you
No,
expect to
no, I
just?
don't know. Don't expect a chat. No, I think if we come in and around the top three, I think we'll be doing well. I think particularly for a year where it's the big break for the Women's World Cup, and we play each other twice, so there's only 20 odd games in the season. It's not even 3 rounds. I think by the time we get fully up and running, maybe 10 games into the season, we'd probably be too far behind to play that kind of catch up. So for us, I think it's just about trying to set out the groundwork for what we hope to try and achieve. Maybe look to get one or two extra players in during the off season next year, and then look to challenge next year.
I suppose in the sense that's similar to what you done in UCD. That you took over and maybe the expectations weren't too high, and you built and built and built, and then you get to the Premier, and you get to Europe, obviously, and everything kind of snowballed, I suppose, from the success that you built through the first 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, you always find the teams that are successful are the ones that have been together as a group for at least 2, maybe 3 years. So that's why I probably think this year it might be Wexford would be one of the ones that would be favourites to go and win it, particularly because they've retained nearly all the squad and have just added extra. When you say added extra, it's Rihanna Jarrett and it's Player of the Year from last year. So the extra quality that they've brought in, I think they'll be the favourites, particularly that they have that whole squad together, and that is always vital when you want to go and challenge. That it does take time to build up certain partnerships in and around the pitch.
And I think we've seen it with Athlone as well. They're 3 years in the league, and they've made progress every year. Got to a cup final or a challenger for the league last year, and then obviously they won the President's Cup. So it's a clear sign of progress that can be a blueprint for what you want to do.
Exactly, yeah. But it takes time. It really does, and it doesn't matter how many good players that you can just sign and bring in. It takes time to build that partnership. It takes time to build that style of play that you want to do. So that's why I think this year will just be a year too soon for us.
Just in terms of signing players, Collie, obviously you would have heard a narrative that's been going around that Shamrock Rovers are buying the league, or players are following the money to Shamrock Rovers. I suppose what's your initial comments on that?
I find it one of the funniest comments that goes around, because the last thing that we talk to any player about is money, and not one player has signed for us for good money. So it's obviously something that you just think Shamrock Rovers is signing a player, so it must be the money. Well, has anyone ever considered that it's not the money? That it's maybe just a good proper coaching facility, a good setup, a good professional setup, and that is a club that has been proven to do things in a good professional manner, and it's something that these players have been crying out for a long time. So maybe it might be that instead of the money.
Just even the answer there is a sense that maybe is it a bit annoying for you when you hear comments like that?
No, everyone can have all their comments. No, not at all. Doesn't even. I just find it disrespectful to the players that they think that's all the players are actually going for. I think those comments is more. It's probably a dig at the club, but it's actually nearly coming across as a dig at the players that are only trying to do something that's a little bit more professional and better for themselves.
It's a great complaint to have, though, for somebody from coming from UCD, being told that they're buying the league.
It's a fantastic. Maybe I'm just not used to the comments altogether. It's just from being in the shoe on the other foot. So maybe I should just get used to these kind of comments a little bit more.
Yeah, you have to build a thick skin, I suppose. But just to finish, I suppose, as a proud Meath man, as I know you are, Drogheda are they're building up their system now. Drogheda United, is it something that you look forward to? Maybe playing against your hometown club again?
Playing against Drogheda?
Yeah.
I always love playing against Drogheda. It's one of those things, you always look forward to playing against a hometown. It's where you grew up. It's where you played all your football. So once you move out of that town when you're 18, basically any chance to go back to it and play against it is always special.
And just to conclude, what county is Drogheda in?
I know you will say Meath, but it's not. I was Drogheda County Loud.
Yeah,
you're never going to talk to me ever again, are you? Although I did go to the school I went to the St. Oliver school, and that was Drogheda, County Meath.
Exactly, because Drogheda is in Meath.
Part of Drogheda is in Meath, correct.
We've established that Drogheda is in Meath. Thank you.
Probably to move on from this debacle of Loud Meath, how much are you enjoying getting back on the grass and coaching and being a first team manager again?
Yeah, it's brilliant. That's been one of the main pluses of it. I really missed actually being able to control the style of play, being able to control what we do at training, team shape, the dynamics in training, the communication between the players, the style of play, the what we do in training. So you do miss actually having the full control over it. So yeah, it's really really good to be back on the training pitch.
How much are you looking forward now to the opening day fixture?
How much am I looking forward to the weekend? I'm not. I'm terrified. I'd be a big worrier. I'd be one that would be afraid of failure. So, do I look forward to this weekend? No, not really. Maybe looking forward to a couple of weeks' time where maybe we've had more time with the players and we'll be able to grow and develop a little bit more. But I won't say it to the players, but I'm absolutely terrified for this weekend.
Would you be always nervous for a game?
I would. Yeah, I'd always be afraid to fail. So I'd always be a big worrier.
Well, you said you never say it to the players, but they're going to hear this during the week, so
yeah,
you're screwed.
You just gonna have to cut this bit out, then, aren't you? No, yeah. Oh, well, I think they already know that I'm probably a big worrier. But it's just, I suppose, when you're afraid to fail, it just makes you maybe just do the extra bits just so you don't fail. So hopefully
The Roy Keane thing, like
we might just do enough. You might just do an extra little bit of enough to get over the line for the weekend.
Ollie, you've been a great time. Thanks much for going on the podcast and good luck with the season.
No problem. Listen, thanks for having me.
And there's kind of a lot of grumbling about maybe we don't have enough Premier League players, but in terms of the Championship,
But what's the point in grumbling about it?
But the step
I can't hold about it, can I? If they're not playing the Premier, what's the point of me grumbling?
The step up to international football from the Championship is it kind of is it easily manageable?
Well, I tell you about when we played in 2002. What's the point of me grumbling? We had lads who were all at the bottom of the Premier, real scrapping away. Kince and Matty Holland, and I had Gary Breen who hadn't even got a club. What's the point of me grumbling? So I don't subscribe to that. You just whatever it is, whatever I've got, I'll get them together and make the best of them and try and make sure we qualify. Grumbling is not one of the things I do.
You can subscribe to each new episode of the ExtraTime.ie Sportscast on iTunes. Please give a rating or add a comment there to let us know your views.
Welcome back to the second half. We've had to make a tactical substitution. Dave Donnelly was taken off, and I'm delighted Paul Corcoran and Aisling Hannon with me now. Guys, how are we?
Good, thanks, Luke.
We're going to continue our preview chat about the Women's National League, which begins this weekend. Paul, I might go to you first, just like Collie O'Neill on. Just a general talk on Shamrock Rovers. We've already spoken around, won't go too much in depth about them, but just in terms of Shamrock Rovers coming into the game, the women's game rather, a welcome addition.
Yeah, I think so, Luke. It's not like they just planted in all of a sudden. Like, they've done the work at underage level. I know there'll be talk of maybe disparity in the league now this year. Look, I can't see past anyone but Shamrock Rovers winning the league this year. But if they have the ability to attract these players, then and the players want to go there, then that's the way it is. Hopefully maybe kick on. It'll be disappointing that I can't see we'll have an exciting title race like we've had in the last few years, but hopefully can maybe kick on the other teams, maybe something a higher standard maybe for teams to aim for in the coming years. Yeah,
it was interesting just from even speaking to Collie there and having listened to him, I'm sure the listeners were listening to that he kind of was chatting with the narrative about, Shamrock Rovers buying the league, and obviously disagreed with it strongly, and he was kind of saying, well, maybe players are coming there for other reasons, but what do you think of that narrative that maybe players are only going there chasing money? Is that kind of a false allegation to throw players?
I mean, it could be the case, and more power to them if, the money's been, there's so little money in the Women's National League or the Women's Premier Division as it is now. If a team can offer money, I mean, I can't blame a player for wanting to join a club, and Rovers have the facilities, and if they're offering money on top of that, excellent. Look, it'll shift the power dynamic to an extreme degree this coming season, but we want to get to a stage where we've got a high-powered league, or as high-powered as we can in this country, and it's great to see players being paid. It's not going to suit every club, but maybe something to aim for down the line, and it's good to see. It'll be disappointing from a maybe competitive standpoint for the next while, but it's where we'd like to see the league moving to.
Yeah, and I think Aisling as well, that it's the first semi-professional club in Ireland. It is going to be an attractive object to two players to go in and get paid playing for their profession, which has never happened before in a women's game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I think there's so many interesting changes as well around the league. But yeah, I definitely think especially looking at the men's league starting last week, just even attendances is going to be huge this season as well. I know down in Wexford, our team just doesn't get the attendance that they deserve. But I think now with women's football becoming more popular, and I'm here in England and I see it every week, the attendances are going up and up in Women's Super League, but also in the Championship as well and in the lower leagues. So I think just a rise in popularity and just players getting paid is just going to make such a big difference to what we see on the pitch as well.
Yeah, and even talking about attendance, Paul, there was 1,400 at the President's Cup game on Sundays, which again shows that the attendance are going in the right direction for the women's game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, I've been covering the game for a few years, and just even in general, I mean, I'm living kind of near Talca Park, and there's always at least maybe 300 or 400, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but for clubs you get in that, and it's only going one way, hopefully. So the attendance like that at the President's Cup when it's the first edition of it is promising, and we'd love to see more of it. And it'd be interesting to see what Shamrock Rovers can bring. I mean, look, they're a well-supported club. It'd be interesting to see how much colour they can bring to the league fan-wise over the next year.
Yeah, and we'll finish with Rovers. Obviously, we're going to cover other teams in this podcast, not just Shamrock Rovers. But last year, Rovers, Aisling, obviously, Collie O'Neill was talking down the aspect and maybe putting a title charge in or maybe breaking the top 3 or 4. Is that a realistic ambition for the squad they've assembled, or is it too soon possibly to tell?
I think it's too soon. I think that we're looking at, obviously, maybe I'll be biased here, but I think Wexford are really going to push it this year. I think it'll be between them and Athlone. Obviously, Athlone have been really impressive last season under Tommy Hewitt, and I just think that, I know they've lost a couple of big players like Jessica Hennessy going to Rovers and Emily Corbett going to Wexford, which is a huge signing. So I think that it'll be between the two. I just feel like Peamount maybe have lost it a little bit, especially with Steph Roach going and with Anya O'Gorman leaving as well. They've lost so much experience. Shells could be a threat, but I just think that it could be a bit too soon for Rovers to kind of gel together and really push for a bit of silverware. Yeah,
and I think look last year Wexford obviously done very well. Kind of finishing just with 4 points, just off first against Shells.
Yeah, so, 4, yeah.
So they're looking obviously again to really challenge and get that crown back.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had a disappointment in the FAI Cup as well. So obviously we won it in 2021. That was brilliant. And then 2022 we lost out to Athlone in the semi-final. They beat us 3-0. So it was disappointing, but also I feel like we were quite worn out at the end of the season. Also losing Ellen Malloy to injury, she won't be back until probably after the World Cup at this stage. So that's huge. So yeah, I feel like at the end of last season, losing out on the very last day, we could have won it, but lost right at the wire. So yeah, that was tough, but I think they'll really go for it this year. Yeah, and even at Nolan Town, Aisling, last year again, doing very well, 2 points off first, winning the President's Cup. That's going to give them maybe the impetus, maybe the kick on now and possibly challenge the league title this year. Yeah, absolutely. I think they will. And I know they have lost those couple of key players. It'll be interesting because, I was saying Jessica Hennessy, she's one of the best defenders in the league and they've lost her to Rovers. So, but they have brought players in. I think they've brought in 2 players from Italy. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, Emily Corbett going to Wexford is a big one because she scored 20 league goals last season. Brilliant striker, player of the year last year. So it'll be good to see how she does down in Wexford and what effect that will have on Athlone losing her as well.
Yeah, and looking obviously the Dublin clubs then, Paul, start with Shells, reigning champions, have lost players obviously during the transfer window. Obviously a few gone to Shamrock Rovers that were discussed vehemently online by certain sections, including PR teams and certain clubs. How do you think Shells are looking this season? Obviously played the President's Cup game, lost yesterday on penalties that alone, but how are they faring going into the new season?
I mean, I suppose, look, I genuinely, like I said already, I can't see past Shamrock Rovers. I think, you know, in thinking about this conversation in the lead up to it, I kind of made the musical connection that Rovers this year almost like a super group that you might have in music, like with just the best players from across the league. You know, when I just think of the players they've lost, you know, I just think of, I think this was the big five that went kind of all at once. You know, Amanda Budden, Shauna Fox, Abby Larkin, Leo Leary, and Jess Gargan. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure they'll be in the top 2 or 3, I would say, but you know, I'm not sure they've managed to replace those players to really effectively challenge. And I said, I'm a great man for a bad prediction, so maybe I'll be completely wrong, but I do think Shamrock Rovers will be by some distance the lead this year. Now, look, they've done well bringing in Sophie Waters, Kerry Letman, and Nadine Clare from Waves, but then beyond that, there's a few maybe unknown quantities, we'll say. You know, just players they brought in from abroad that they could absolutely be huge successes. I think there's Kayla Hamrick, who's come in from Houston Dash. So, like, you know, I know Houston Dash is at a decent level, so these players could catch fire and be really good. But I just think maybe bridge too far for Shells.
Yeah, and obviously again switching to Peamount, another club that were disappointed last year. The title challenge kind of failed, missed out again, similar to Wexford, missed out by 4 points. They have another club, again, lost players in the off-season. I mentioned 2 real experienced players, Steph Roach and Anya Gorman, going across Shamrock Rovers. Again, 2 huge losses that dressing room. How do you think they're going to fare this season?
And you know, I think I said it in my season preview on extratime.com that you know, the era of Peamount dominating women's football in this country is firmly behind us. You know, I don't say that in a mean way. Like, they've been such an impressive club over the last, you know, pretty much the entire decade. But I just look at, I think I said in the preview as well, that Anya Gorman and Stephanie Roach going at something about 36 goals they've lost, which is, I think that's almost half the amount of goals they scored last season. So where they're going to come from now, you know, I don't know. And they're not the only players they've lost. You know, Alana McAvoy, the player I'm a big fan of as well, she's gone over to Rovers. And, you know, they've lost several other. Eve Conheady's gone to Athlone Town. Tegan Ruddy's gone as well to Switzerland, I think it is, to FC Sion. So, you know, I couldn't see them. I actually think that they'll potentially struggle to get into the top 4. You know, unless, you know, the likes of, I know they've grabbed Kate Mooney from DLR Waves. She had a big breakout season last year with 10 goals. You know, she catches fire this year. You know, who knows? But I think United will struggle to crack that top 4 this year.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a wider conversation to have about maybe the future of the club, because in the Women's National League, it's going to be interesting. Like, you look at obviously Shamrock Rovers coming in now. I mean, my own clubs in Patrick Lev, they have a 17s women's section. That's obviously the aspirations to go into the Women's National League next 3 to 4 years. Again, another Dublin club in the similar area to have facilities that Peamount wouldn't have. So, where is their future? Like, again, this is a broader discussion point probably for another day, but even it's worth talking about on the opening days. Where is the future live Peamount possibly in the next 3 to 4 years? Like, again, lack of facilities there too in Greenogue.
I suppose, you know, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's going to get harder and harder for independent clubs to be in the league. I mean, maybe on the facilities. I mean, I went for the first time actually for the Peamount Wexford game out to Greenogue, and it's quite the setup. You know, I have to say. So I don't know, would they be far behind a lot of maybe what the women's teams are, you know, getting to use basically at other clubs. Maybe bar like your Shamrock Rovers and stuff like that. But it's a very impressive setup. But I just think maybe the economic realities potentially. Now, I know nothing about the inner workings of Peamount United, but it's just going to get harder and harder for independent clubs. And as you said, if Pat's coming up through the ranks with ambitions playing senior football, that's just even more competition for players in a relatively close section of Dublin. So it'll be difficult. But I would love to see them continue. They've got such a rich history in women's football in this country, and I'd love to see them keep going.
I suppose I should maybe qualify my comment, make sure no one thinks I'm disparaging the facilities there. It's more in terms of, if you look at Tallaght Stadium, even Richmond Park, you look at the showgrounds now, Dayon Park are all in the league. Like Peamount and Greenock don't have that kind of stadium aspect to their facilities, and that's more the thing I was calling the issue that can come down the road.
And in fairness as well, one of the things that the established League of Ireland clubs have is fan bases that will hopefully, not all, but hopefully will cross over. I know Peamount have a fan base, but I don't know, is there much room to grow as Peamount United? I couldn't. Time will tell, but I think a lot of the established League of Ireland clubs will outstrip them in terms of attendances.
Yeah. The best of the rest then, Aisling, who are we looking at then? Possibly the other ways, maybe another club maybe looking to break into that kind of top three, being that conversation for the league title.
Yeah, DLR, last season finished 5th on 40 points, which was 16 behind the top 4. Wexford were there in 4th. So yeah, they're an interesting team because I feel like they've lost a lot of experienced players. So now we're looking at a lot of young, inexperienced players in the team. Now, they have kept Eve Badana in the goal, which is brilliant for them because she is standout in the league as a keeper. So that's really positive for them. But a lot of youngsters in there that'll maybe find it hard to gel. But they have got, and we were saying before the pod, Vanessa Albana, they've signed. So that'll be interesting because she has experience. She's been with Cork, she's been with Wexford, she's been in the USA, but she's suffered a lot with injury and illness. So it's a really interesting story that she's coming back to the league. So I'm interested to see how she gets on. Which it'll be good for DLR if she could get going up front for them.
And so I might just jump in to tag onto that. I actually quite worried about Waves, just from the point of view. I think they've got a great setup. I think Graham Kelly's done a great job over the last few years to develop that team. But the knock-on effects, and not to blame Rovers coming into the league, but the knock-on effect of Rovers to the league is Waves then have been absolutely raided by all the other Dublin clubs, and they've signed quite a few young players. They'll be relying on youth this year. I think they'll find it tougher than previous years, which is such a shame because I think they were building something pretty good there, bringing players through. But I feel like they've been knocked back a few steps just with the players they've lost.
In terms of the rest of the pack then, Paul, who else are we looking at? Maybe you were mentioning maybe a few other teams possibly maybe could be looking to step up maybe.
It's a hard no. I suppose I would think the top 4. I hate making big predictions because they always end up wrong. But I think you're nailed on for me, as I said, Shamrock Rovers to win it, and then some mix of. I think Aisling made a good point about Wexford. That I think the only team in my head that I feel like might put up some kind of a challenge might be Wexford, and that's crucially because they've got Emily Corbett. I feel like Athlone will do well this year, but they've lost Emily Corbett, which will be very difficult. Although they've beaten Shells in the President's Cup, so who knows? But then the tough thing for Wexford is Ella Malloy on the bench. Who knows what they could have been like if Ella Malloy was fit and ready for the start of the season? But then so you have Athlone, Shelburne, and Wexford in some order. Now I'm not going to predict which order, and that'll be your top 4. I'm not sure who will be the best of the rest. It could be any number of teams. I know, it could be Bows, who've done well in recent years. I'm thinking of my hometown club as well, Galway United, who, again, it's another team that has I don't want to say suffer because it's a new team really, so it's not really Galway Women's FC anymore. But I look at the players that haven't come on into the new iteration of women's football in Galway. And you've your Savannah McCarthy gone to Shamrock Rovers. There's no Julianne Russell, no Becky Walsh. Some of the players have a decent amount of seasons under their belt, but they're quite young overall. I feel like the oldest player is Lindsay McKee, who's been around since the beginning of the league, and then you have Gemma McGuinness joining this year as well from Sligo. And then I know I'm rambling a bit, but then on to Sligo, maybe they could sneak into maybe that fifth spot. I couldn't even break into the top four. But obviously Emma Doherty had a huge breakthrough season last year. I can't remember how many. I think she scored 11 goals in 25 appearances, and that was her first season in the Women's National League. Steve Feeney did a great job. They were a competitive team. You don't often see that when teams join the league, but there's a really, really interesting story to watch unfold will be how Casey Howe gets on. So she's a new signing in from the Northern Irish League. She's a couple of caps for Northern Ireland. She scored a heap of goals up there. She's only 20 years old. Defensively, they struggled last year. If they can tighten up a bit, they will probably bang in goals this year. They could possibly be the best of the rest.
Just in terms of Galway, Paul, obviously that was a bit of advantage in the off-season. Galway Women's Football Club decided was disbanded, is that the correct term to use? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, yeah.
So disbanded. Galway United now come into the fore, and again, it's another club that has a male and a female football club in the League of Ireland, which again is another positive development. How's that news gone down in Galway? Is it seen as a positive development?
I think it's definitely seen as a positive development. I'll be curious. I will be in Galway on Saturday for the first game when they take on Wexford Youth. I'll be curious to see how much they can capture the attention of the general public. So, Galway Women's FC really struggled to capture any kind of a fan base as an independent club. I've many games and attendance were very, very small. I'd be curious now and I don't want to say it's a case of branding, but you've a team now who's part of a club that has been around. It's been in the league since the Men's League of Ireland since the 70s. Can that attract a few more curious heads up the Dyke Road to Terryland Park? Time will tell. I'm not sure. I didn't get a chance to go into any of the preseason games. I think, the one thing about Galway United this year is they won't be challenging for a title. I couldn't really see them going close to winning, the FAI Cup or anything like that. And I hope it doesn't take a team to be winning every week to attract people, because there's good players there, and Phil Trill is managing. Phil Trill knows all these players inside out. As the former academy director there at Galway Women's FC, he's brought a lot of these players through. But it's certainly seen as a positive development. I mean, I monitor what fans are saying on fans forums, but there's interest out there. Certainly more interest in women's football in Galway than I would have seen in recent years.
In terms of then the transfer activity of players coming in out of the league, okay, we kind of hinted at the fact that Shamrock Rovers have probably done the best business of getting the players in. But in terms of other clubs, Aisling, who's done maybe the best bit of business in terms of players coming in?
I would probably say again, because of Emily Corbett. I just think that's such it's like a star signing. So many goals. It's a great signing for them. But also they've got in Louise Corrigan from DLR, really experienced defender, has won titles with Peamount, so that'll be huge for their chances as well. They've also re-signed Rihanna Jarrett. So she spent a bit of time with London City Lionesses and Brighton as well. So to bring her back, I mean, she's won so much silverware at Wexford in the past, and she's back now. She'll have that experience. She was unlucky with injury during her time in England. So she got, I think, 5 goals in 18 appearances here, but also she was out for a lot of the season with injury. But she'll still have that experience of playing in different setups. She's played with really experienced players like Lily Agg, for example, and then she'll come back and she'll be a really good mentor for the young side that we have as well. So that'll be an interesting comeback for Rihanna. Also with Peamount, I would say it's interesting that they've lost 2 of their kind of most important players, but they also have Sive Doyle, for example, who scored 10 goals last season. She'll be stepping up to the plate as well. At loan, it's interesting because they've lost 3 really important players, but I think they have brought in other players, so it'll be good to see how they get on. But yeah, I definitely think Wexford are the standout in the transfer window.
And just literally to tack on to your point, Ashling, I mean, yeah, like Athlone, this was as a Galway man, this is the two players I'm keeping an eye on at Athlone now. There's quite a few Galway players there already, but Shauna Brennan and Chloe Singleton have made the move to Athlone, and like I'm sure Phil Trill would have had eyes on having them in his squad for 2023 at Galway United, but they're both, like Shauna Brennan was once on a Women's Athletic Team of the Year. A few years ago, she's one of the most talented left backs in the country. You know, Chloe Singleton is a tenacious midfielder. They're very good. They're definitely big additions to that Athlone team. So they've also done quite well. And I suppose, and I just want to make sure, I suppose, we fit it all in and maybe mention Cork and Treaty, who I think we haven't managed to touch on yet. Like, I just look at, you know, maybe I wouldn't be as familiar with Cork, but I know they brought in Alex and Jessie Mendez from Treaty United. Treaty, the unfortunate history of having some of their best players picked from them every winter, and similar things happened. They've also got a very passionate manager in Danny Murphy down in Cork. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, what they can do this year. With Treaty are like an unknown package now this year. New manager in Alban Heisa. And I think I mentioned before we came on, they signed Ciara McCormick, former Ireland international, Canadian born, played professionally all over the world. But there's a big spine of Canadian players in particular that have come over, and we don't really know what they'll be like. But if even half of them come good, we could see a Treaty United that's much stronger than last year, which would be crucial because they had a really, really tough time of it last year. So I'm not sure where they'll finish, but even if they're just more competitive than they were last year, it'll be hugely positive for themselves and for the league as a whole.
In terms of ones to watch, I'll go to yourself, Paul, first, and Aisling. What player in particular, or is there players in particular you're looking at maybe are the ones to watch this season?
So, do you know, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to go back to Shamrock Rovers, and I'm going to go for Savannah McCarthy. You know, she signed for Shamrock Rovers this year. I think there's a good chance she might claim a bit of silverware, but she's coming back from a really horrific injury that she's been out for almost a whole year. She got injured very early on last season while playing for Galway Women's FC. She'll be looking back into Vera Pauw's plans for the World Cup this summer, so she'll be absolutely chomping at the bit to get back and playing the way she was playing, to get back and get more Ireland caps and hope to get on the plane to Australia. I think she'll be my big one to watch, and I'll be hoping that things go really well for her this year.
Aisling, in terms of yourself then, who do you see as the one to watch for Savannah McCarthy as Paul's pick?
I'm going to go with, let me see, Madison Gibson with Athlone Town. I think she has this, like, a strong, like, presence on the pitch as well. I just think that she would be a standout, but especially in an Athlone team where, you know, they've lost experience, but she can be that standout player. She scored goals. She's really good with possessions. She's really good on the ball. So yeah, I would go with her.
Just something Paul touched on, top might just follow up on, just in terms of even the World Cup coming up. How many homegrown players, or home-based players rather, as you rephrase, can we see possibly in the World Cup squad? Because we can see now, even with the training camps, there's more players finding the Irish granny and they're suddenly declaring for Ireland, which I was, you know, look, whatever way, again, that's the manager's choice. They can pick whatever they want. But how many players can we see possibly in the squad going to Australia, New Zealand, and be playing in the League of Ireland?
I think that's possibly the toughest question, especially just with the Ireland squads we've seen over the last few weeks. You know, in my head, I feel like you would have had 3 guaranteed before Ella Malloy got injured. As it stands in my head, if there were Women's Premier Division players going, I feel like Vera Pauw would stick with Abby Larkin and Anya O'Gorman. I would like to think there'll be a couple more, but it's going to be super competitive. And there's a lot of players, you know, playing in a lot of different leagues all over the world and playing professionally. At a stretch, I'd love to see Savannah McCarthy work her way back into that team as well and get in the squad for the summer, but time will tell.
Yeah, and on that point, Aisling, obviously over in England, you're seeing a bit of the Women's Super League. Aoife Manning's obviously declared for Ireland very recently, plays the same position as Savannah McCarthy, and more competition to get back into the squad. How many players can you see being home based, possibly making the plane to Australia and New Zealand?
Yeah, I agree with Paul. I think it'll only probably be about 3, maybe 4. I was thinking as well, Ellen Malloy, but she just won't be fit in time, and it's a pity because she would have been like incredible at a World Cup. But yeah, I feel like um there's just so many options now, and there's so many players all over the world, and people declaring as well for Ireland. So yeah, I'd say maybe 3 or 4, but it'd be really nice to see some more.
Just in terms of obviously the WSL and players maybe of Irish heritage, is there any more we can possibly see coming into work recently? Is there any thoughts or any players maybe possibly come to the fore?
I don't think so, but you never know. There could be. We'll see if any more put their hand up. It'd be nice, but yeah, there's a lot of talent over here. Like there's so much, not just in the WSL, but in the Championship and in the lower tiers as well. And it's really like the coaching is getting so good over here, and like it's getting so they're getting so much more recognition for what they're doing, and yeah, I'd be interested to see if any more would come to Ireland.
I suppose actually that's another point really to pick up on and that could be a huge factor in the title race. We've seen it last year, players in mid-season going over to join English clubs. Like that could be a factor too. Like what players could we see possibly leave in June, July that could have an impact on the title race, Paul?
Put me on the spot. I mean, I couldn't think off the top of my head, but I'm sure there will. I mean, I think it's remarkable. Like I will sidestep that question by just saying it's remarkable that Shelbourne managed to get over the line in the end and win the league title last year, just given they just had to chop and change all year, and they've done it for 2 years basically. In particular, they've lost so many players like mid-season and the likes. Excuse me. Like I feel like again, I suppose it's like Ellen Malloy and like Abby Larkin, they're like 2 prime candidates. I don't know what their plans are. Now, obviously, Ellen is injured. She'd probably have to come back first and maybe get some game time under her belt before she moves. I don't know what Abby Larkin's plans are. I feel like maybe they're the 2 prime candidates to move over next.
Yeah, I suppose college comes into it as well. Even school, or someone like Jess Stapleton, another player that possibly could be playing abroad soon as well. Look, to finish off, we'll ask Paul, but we already know his answer, and I'll come to Aisling then. Shamrock Rovers is for you the team that's going to be the team to beat this season, the pace setters. It's becoming an absolute cliche by me, but I can't see past them. They've just signed so many really good players from as many teams as possible. I think they're prime candidates to win the league this year. Aisling, Wexford Youth to yourself?
Yeah, I'm going to stick to my heart and say Wexford Youths. I think Athlone will be a challenge. But yeah, I'm going to say Wexford. I think they've really done well with retaining their players as well, but also getting in some star quality. So yeah, that'll be my pick. Any shouts for Golden Boot, guys? Anyone a fancy name? Emily Corbett.
I would potentially say Emily Corbett. Anya O'Gorman is still banging in goals in the women's Premier Division, and she's in such a strong team. I wouldn't rule herself out. She grabbed it last year, I believe. I wouldn't rule her out. I think there's a good chance in the team that she's in. She may well grab it again this year. Okay, guys, I think that's a good preview there. I think a lot of stuff covered. We'll chat again later on the season. Paul, Aisling, thanks so much for coming on. We'll chat again soon.
You're listening to ExtraTime.ie. League of Ireland football is our passion.
Welcome back to the third half. Just a quick run through the fixtures from last weekend in the League of Ireland Premier Division and First Division. UCD 2, Sligo Rovers 3, and Max Mata hat-trick there, the difference on the day. Derry City 2, Cork City 0. Another Jordan McAneff goal, the second in 2 games. St. Patrick's 1, Shells 0, probably the big game of the weekend, the Dublin Derby. An Owen Doyle late strike from a corner kick was up to see on the day. Cracking atmosphere too. Nearly 4,900 of the game. Brilliant atmosphere. Game, best said the better. But at least the atmosphere was decent on the day. Bows 2, Dundalk 1. Another disappointing result for Dundalk after a poor opening day result against UCD. We have a bit of audio here from Stephen O'Donnell. Let's have a listen.
It was a disappointing result. you almost came good towards the latter stages, but really left it too late, I suppose. In the end.
Yeah, we started the game well. I thought we started the game really well. I thought we had the better passages in the first half. Both sort of played off turnovers and a little bit on the counter. They got a few set pieces. We dealt with them well. I don't think there was a big chance in the first half, and then we give up a silly foul on the edge of the box just before half time. Win 1-0 down. Second half started bitty. We couldn't really get a foothold of the game. Then I thought we were in total dominance of the game. When we gave up the second goal, we were obviously pressing with a set piece. Ball came back. We probably should have recycled it, and we just gave up an inexcusable goal. We go 2-0 down. We reacted well to it. Went a bit more obviously offensive with the substitutions. Took a little bit more risks. Got a goal back, and then we just couldn't get that gilt-edged chance that we were looking for. But I saw a lot of positive things there tonight going forward, and we just need to from an individual and a collective standpoint, just stamp out the sloppy bits. But I saw enough there to give me a lot of hope and a lot of excitement going forward. As I said, we just need to get as cohesive and gel individually and collectively as quick as possible.
And I suppose on that, with so many new players coming in, it's going to take time for them to gel, and even within games we start to see it towards the latter stages, but it's going to take a few more weeks. But obviously you need results.
Yeah, exactly, but it will take time. We've had a big turnover in our squad from last season to this season, so it will take time, but we're enjoying that part of it as well, building communication, building understanding and a team aspect, and we look forward to a busy week next Monday, Friday, so we have a lot of good options, and as I said, we're going to enjoy the challenge of building relationships individually and collectively with each other.
The two debutants certainly made an impression when they come on as well. They look really lively.
Yeah, Johannes showed really good quality, I felt, and then Rayan, even though he hadn't trained, he only came in yesterday, came in late Wednesday night, trained yesterday, light session, but I thought he looked very sharp as well, so excited by those two additions, and as a group collectively I think we'll keep progressing as it goes on.
And 3 big games to come over 7 days next week. It's not going to be defining by any matter of means, but I suppose you'll be looking for points ASAP.
Yeah, of course we will. It's like every other team will be, but we didn't get off to too much of a hectic start last year in regards to a lot of draws. We might have lost, but a lot of draws. I think we had 13 points after the first round of fixtures, so it was a similar thing last year to this year, but we're just looking to be gel as quick as we can, and as I said, I saw a lot of sort of positive stuff there.
Alfie went off in the first half. Is
yeah,
that more
I got a ball in the head and just was feeling a little bit lightheaded, so obviously we can't take any chances in that department. We have to do obviously the right thing and the mature thing and get him off.
It's a tough place to come here at the best of times, and I suppose when you kind of not gift them possession and maybe mistakes, the crowd will get on top and everything like that, and maybe they just took advantage of that tonight.
Yeah, it's our first home game, look, and they buoyed by last week, full house, new temporary stand, so but in regards to the structure of the game, I thought we had the best of it, we had a better team, and that's a good experience for our newer boys that don't know much about the league or the players individually and collectively.
Just for extra time, just wanted to get your thoughts on the potential takeover. I know there's rumoured buyout from Hull City. Is that a good thing for the club, bad thing?
Yeah, look, it's not in my remit. I don't know anything about it, to be honest with you, but what I do, I have full trust in the owners, current owners that are at the club. They'll do what they see is best by the club, but with regards our focus or that or me, I'm just to play inside, the players play inside, coaching or to play inside, and it doesn't affect us, and as I said, it's not my remit, but I do have full faith in the owners doing what's best for the football club.
I'm sure it's something you want to get cleared up as soon as possible and just focus on what's going on the pitch, especially the fans as well probably want to say.
Yeah, well, from a fan side point of view, of course they're obviously wanting to know what's going to be the outcome or what's happening, but from our point of view it doesn't really affect us day to day. We've enough to concentrate on from a football side of it, so it actually doesn't really make a difference to the playing side. I haven't heard one of the players talk about it, we haven't even addressed it. It's a non-issue with us in that regard. Full focus is on just the training ground and the football pitch.
And the final game, the Premier Division, was Donnelly United 1, Shamrock Rovers 1. Rovers did lead for Graham Burke, but unfortunately Rovers discipline cost them again. 2 players sent off in quick succession, and a late Ryan Brennan strike was enough to get a result for the Drogs. McDarrett Ferris, a reporter, was there, and he called with Stephen Bradley after the game. Let's have a listen.
Stephen, you had to deal with the suspensions. You lined out with Gary Neal in the centre back of the back three. He's played in that position a couple of times before, and he looked good. It'll be a bit different next week, but in terms of just tonight in that position.
Yeah, we knew it would. We gave Gary a real licence to go and play in midfield when we had possession, and he did that really well. He picked his moments when to go in and when not to go in. And like you said, he's a clever footballer, Gary, and he could play that position quite comfortably, and he did really well tonight.
You talked last week after Graham Burke scored that he's the type of player that can go on a run. He got another goal tonight, exactly what you were looking for.
Yeah, I thought he was good all night, Graham. I think he hit the post as well, and he looked a threat every time he was in the final third. He looked a threat, and he looks really on his game at the moment, so pity we had to take him off. Obviously the sending off, similar to last week, and we had to make the changes, but he was very good again tonight.
I heard you talk about the sending offs, that league race was 2 yellow cards, but the Dan Cleary one you found quite annoying. He was booked for time wasting, but he your view of it, I think he might have got a touch on the ball as well.
He did at the very end. Dan actually went to take the ball to play, but the time wasting happened well before that, and the fourth official is telling the ref it's not Dan Cleary, and you're asking the referee there to listen to his help that's around him and not get caught up in the game and make a silly decision. He's being told by the fourth official it's not Dan Cleary. Listen to it, it was the same last week. Really poor decisions from the official, and I think he lost control of the game tonight, the referee. And that's not good, we need to look at that.
And is that one potentially where you might appeal it? Are you able to appeal?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'll speak to the club tonight or in the morning. But the Dan Cleary one, it's clear as day when you watch it back. Dan's only involvement is going and getting the ball at the end in his hands. He had absolutely nothing got to do with the bit leading up to it. And like I said, the fourth official is there looking. He's telling the referee it's not him. Listen. Take the help and listen.
It means you've 3 of your centre halves missing for next Friday night. Sean Gannon you named on the bench and he was able to get on the pitch, so Sean's available, you've Gary Neal available, but what's going through your mind when you're thinking now the game's over and you're looking forward to next week? And
we'll be fine. We have a strong group. We have some injuries and some suspensions, but it's fine. We've been there before, we've dealt with it. It'll be tough, we know that it's not ideal, but it is what it is. This is why winning the league is always the hardest, because things like this are thrown up and you have to get on with them. We'll be fine.
You created a lot of set pieces, a lot of Jack Byrne corners. You swung them in. Graham scored from one of them. Lee Grace had a couple of chances. He hit the crossbar with a great shot as well. I presume you want to try and get, with that delivery from Jack, you want to be able to get goals from him. At least you were able to do that tonight.
Yeah, we must be doing better from them deliveries. Like I said, Lee has a free header 6 yards out and doesn't work the goalkeeper. We hit the crossbar from 5 yards out. Lee, Dan Cleary's the similar. We can't let teams off the hook like that when the delivery's that good, and we're actually hitting our areas to hit. We got to punish them. We got to go and be ruthless, and we were tonight. And like I said, when you're not ruthless and you lead the game at 1-0, anything can happen, and that's exactly what happened tonight.
I'm looking forward to Friday. Derry City are going to come. It'll be pretty much probably another a sellout. The first home game of the season. You've had to wait a little bit. Two away games. It's a game everyone around the league will be looking forward to, and you'll be relishing the challenge of going up against a Derry team who you've played in the President's Cup as a pre-season friendly, but it's a really mouth-watering affair to come up on Friday.
Yeah, two good teams. Obviously going head to head on what'll be the best stadium, the best pitch in the country. It's exactly what you want, So really looking forward to it. Good game, difficult game, but one we'll be ready for.
And the League of Ireland First Division, we have Waterford 1, Longford Town 1, Cove Ramblers 2, Wexford 1, Athlone Town 3, Finn Harps 1, Galway United 1, Treaty United 0. Our reporter Paul Corcoran was there, and we have a bit of audio from the match winner Rob Slevin. But first, let's hear from the assistant manager. Can't get used to that one actually. Assistant manager Ollie Horgan.
Ollie Horgan, you're in the hot seat tonight. Happy with the win?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's about trying to get as many points as you can, Mike, as you know, probably better than anyone. Look, we got 3 points, so it wasn't pretty. I've watched Galway over the years, as you know well, where they've played an awful lot better and didn't get 3 points. So you'll take that and move on. And we've got Waterford next weekend, and effectively we've moved on. Now, we did create chances regardless of maybe not being at our best. We're probably at a better level last weekend. But we ran our look at the end. But you need to try and accumulate points. You need a little bit of rub of the green going away, and we move on. We're looking at Waterford, who Treaty are a damn good side, but Waterford are better again, and that's really where we've moved on to now.
And Waterford only drew tonight, believe it or not. Tonight,
yeah. Well, I mean, it could easily have been a draw for us as well. So like, it's I think it's the bit I see in the changing room in there. It's a very, very level-headed changing room. I don't think they'll get too carried away if they win, and hopefully, if we have a few bad days, they won't be too despondent, and we'll keep going. We're looking at Waterford now, and we'll spend the week preparing for that and see what that brings.
You had plenty of possession tonight, and I'm sure that you would like to have seen just a little bit more reward in the last third.
Yeah, well, look, we huffed and puffed a bit. Their strengths we tried to nullify with their set plays, which were huge, like with Mark Ludden's deliveries, both out of his hands and from a set piece. And we did that quite well. No, we weren't pretty. But there's no point in pretending that we were. But it's not about trying to be pretty to try and kick on in the division. We need to accumulate as many points as we can. And as I said to you, we take that tonight, not playing well, and get 3 points rather than playing beautiful football and get nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you're new coach here, and there's another new coach as well. Can we expect any sort of change of style or tempo or anything like that?
Oh God! You want the beautiful game, Mike? Isn't it? Yeah. Look, we will do, and as my job is a completely different role than I had for the last 9 years. And whatever we can bring to the table, young Chris is there and has brought huge ideas and energy as well to the coaching side of it. But I'm there to assist John, and that's what I'll do. And the only reason I'm doing the interviews here, obviously, is that John is out of bounds today. And look, let's see what happens, Mike. I think it's a bit early in the season for talking about the beautiful game. We'll wait to see how we get on down the line.
What's it like managing your home club?
Well, I don't think it was managing out there, to be honest with you. Look, I mean that's it's different without doubt. That I'm used to over 9 years of the support that backed you through thick and thin, and that's what we had. And you have Rob Slevin there behind me, who was part of it last year, and we need the supporters to back us in the bad days. And that's today was great. We won it, albeit not being that pretty. But we still created a fair bit of chances, as I referred to with Mike here. But we need them to back us if we go a goal down, or if we're not playing well and didn't get Rob's goal to put us ahead. And I've no doubt they will. And that's what probably they did in Ballybofey over the years, especially last year. That was extremely tough, both on and off the field. And They stood with us right to the bitter end, although we went down, and I hope that the support here will do the same with this bunch.
John Coffey would often say to us, there's no such thing as an easy game, and I hold my hands up, I roll my eyes going, oh my God. But the table, I know it's only 2 games, but Athlone, Bray, Cove, top of the table, so there are no easy games like that. Waterford next week, but it's only the next.
Absolutely. I mean, we haven't even looked at the Waterford part of the year. I know from last year Galway played them 5 times, I think, if I'm correct, including the playoff. I've watched them as well, and the idea of last year that if Finn Harps had got to the playoff, we possibly would be playing Galway or Waterford. But we'll sit down tomorrow and look at their game tonight and try and come up with a plan for next weekend, whatever that may take.
2 wins from 2. What's the move maybe for yourself? What's the move in the dressing room? Basically, for that, you couldn't ask for a better start.
Yeah, look, it's good. I done an interview last week, and I said, look, I'll be happy every week if we leave the gates with 3 points. And at the end of the day, it's stuff on the table that we look back at it, hopefully in the end of the year, and say, look, that's why we're successful. For me personally, look, as I said, I'm delighted with 3 points. It's tough sometimes, I think, especially in the second half when they're pushing. But look, we're defensively solid today, all over the pitch, all units. So look, I'm happy.
And it's well on a personal for yourself. Like, how did it feel? You're at a new club, your home debut, and you get a great goal, and the only goal of the game. You're a big home crowd. How did that feel?
Yeah, no, it's good. I kind of forgot the feeling of getting a goal for a while. It's been a few years, so I'm delighted. Look, the fans out there are unbelievable. I think that there was a good group travel last week to Harps, and you've seen kind of the main part of the fans then tonight, like unbelievable, and everyone who showed up, look, it's great, and it'll help push us all on together for what goal we want at the end of the year.
And I suppose, as I said, it's a new club. You've come in from Harps, but how are you settling in here in Galway? Like, is there, I know Ollie's come down here as well, so there's a little bit of continuity there for you, but is it much different for you, or how are you finding the adjustment now?
I'm enjoying it. To be fair, now there's Ollie, Regan, I was with last year Harps. I know Dave Hurley from Cork, and look, we're all footballers. We all interested in the same things, and we all want a common goal at the end of the day. So it hasn't been too easy to gel in. And yeah, look, I'm enjoying it, and I'll be enjoying it as long as we keep winning games.
And just one thing, and even going on back to tonight, even like, look, I'd say it was a battle up in Finn Park last week, and all of this for any team, but Treaty maybe wouldn't be expected to battle for maybe the automatic promotion, but that was a battle there tonight.
Yeah.
Is it maybe beneficial for you to maybe have to grind out these results at this stage, or how do you find basically grinding out those really tough results?
But they're all tough games. Like, every team will come here and we'll go places, and everyone has a game plan at the end of the day. Look, I thought they done well to keep their banks of 4. They had good lines. But look, like, at the end of the day, a game will go however it goes, and they done well in patches. But I thought we were the better team. We deserved the win. Look, if it means we grind out all games this year, then I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. And last question, just on to next week. It's probably most people looking at it as already a huge game, because Waterford, we mentioned, belongs to Galway United, one of the big, hockey tech teams for promotion. What are your thoughts going in to that game down the RSC next week?
I'm looking forward to it. Look, again, it's 3 points at stake, and if you look back at the last 2 weeks, without looking at our performances, it's still 6 points. That's how I'm looking at it this year, and look, we'll go down there to win, and that's the main aim. That's the only aim.
And the last result in the first division was Bray 3, Kerry 1. Another defeat for the new side, but again, they can take great heart from the fact that fantastic achievement to be up and running their first season. Got their first goal in the League of Ireland too. We also have a bit of audio from the match from Billy Dennehy. Let's have a listen.
Yeah, it is. I think, again, we were just speaking about it inside, we're kind of giving ourselves a bit of a mountain to climb at times, with some of the goals that were given away. Obviously, set piece today was the second phase of a corner last week, for their first goal. So, it's kind of just the basic kind of principles of the game that are sort of letting us down at the moment. But then, kind of, once the game opens up and the shackles come off, you can see a few passages of play where we created some really, really good chances. Scored one, possibly could have had 2 or 3 more. Keeper pulls off a great save, and Gleeson's great run. Leo has a great shot in the first half that's blocked by the defender. So, we are creating lots of chances, and there is a lot of positives, but at the same time, we can't keep making things difficult for ourselves.
And the subs have a positive impact, like you brought on the subs and nearly straight away the goal was scored, so you must be happy with that element.
Yeah, it was, and again, they're young lads coming on that they've never played senior football before, and they're just coming in, I suppose, with that. I suppose I've had them for a lot of years. I've had a lot of those kids now that are coming through for the last 4 or 5 years, so they probably understand a lot of the principles, the way that I operate, and as coaches, what we expect and what we demand. And some of the newer boys that are coming in, there's a lot of them there. It's a full new group. They haven't played together ever until competitive game until last week. So there is that element as well of players just adapting to the environment and getting used to kind of certain things that we expect. But overall, it's the basics tonight. Like, it's two corners, 2 set pieces cost us the game, and there are things that the players inside know themselves and acceptable, and they held their hands up. So look, we move on to next week now.
And yeah, look at the next week. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, again, look, kind of looking forward to the game, because when you come away from game thinking we were in that game, and we created chances, and we're able to compete at times in the game. It's just, again, those simple, I suppose, aspects of the set pieces and second phases of corners that we just need to tidy up on. But other than that, yeah, look, excited to see some of the players perform again, because some of them performed really well tonight.
Yeah, obviously Leo as well. Obviously he was really impressive, wasn't he?
Yeah, look, Leo was, and he's a fantastic attitude, and the kid has a great desire to kick on again. Obviously he's come back from Sheffield United, where things didn't probably worked out as well as he would have liked over there, and you're at the rebuilding phase of your career. And I was there myself when I came home from Sunderland, and he has the right attitude now to go about things again. He just needs to keep continuing doing what he's doing. I'm delighted for him that he's the first goal scorer for Kerry Football Club in the League of Ireland. He deserves it for the work that he puts in, and hopefully there's more to come from him.
would you have worked with him previously or before he went over to England, or was this your first time actually working with him?
Yeah, no, my first time working with him. He showed a great desire to come into the club. When he was obviously going to be leaving Sheffield United, we spoke a couple of times, and straight away once he's came in, I could see that he's a player who wants to really do well in the way that he trains and prepares for training and works in training. And again, as I said, I was happy that he scored the first goal tonight, and hopefully there's many more to come from him.
Yeah, obviously in terms of maybe away following, probably there was a good few, I suppose, Kerry fans as well. Obviously that must be really encouraging, and obviously you sold out again next week.
Yeah, amazing. And look, when we went over to supporters there to appreciate them for coming up, I was surprised at how many were there, and they stayed around. It was fantastic. Look, and that's who we represent, that's who we are. We understand of where we are as a club. We've no history or culture, tradition. We're creating it from the ground. We're creating all this from scratch, and we appreciate every single person who comes to support us, and they're the people we represent when we play. And that probably disappoints us more that we're not able to kind of send them away a bit happier, but those days will come too.
Yeah, has that been a bit of maybe surprise, probably the wrong word, but has that been probably one of the most encouraging parts, that so you have been able to sell out the 2 games and obviously bring a fairly decent away following here?
Yeah, fantastic. Look, and it shows, I think, the appetite for the sport down in Kerry. It's been a lifetime coming, as I said. So we just need to make sure that we're kind of coming away from games knowing that giving the supporters everything that we have. And I think tonight, especially in the second half, they could see that. They see, look, the result wasn't going away, but the players never gave up. They never quit. They never stopped, and they kept going. They kept trying to create chances, and we definitely could have scored 1 or 2 more. I think they probably appreciated that. But it's important that we know. As I said, we send them away, but we're happier with the win as well.
Obviously, you speak about maybe creating an identity. Does it probably help that you have so many players from Kerry and I suppose the area around it?
Yeah, it does. I think everybody realises, I suppose, the history of what it's taken to get here and how difficult it's been to get here. But in saying that, we're not just here to be just a big part of the league. We're trying to hear and have an impact in the league and Irish football as an overall. So we know, look, that's going to take a bit of time, but I think just from ourselves and our own standards that we set individually, we know that it wasn't really anything other than the basics that cost us tonight. 2 set pieces cost us the result, and when you're coming away from the game and that happens, you're a bit more disappointed because you feel like you could have been well in the game and possibly got a result if the basics were done a bit better.
And a quick run through the fixtures for this weekend in the League of Ireland Premier Division. We have Drogheda United v Sligo Rovers, Cork City UCD, Dundalk and Patchletic, always a tasty enough game, especially in recent history. Shells Bows, North Dublin Derby, and Shamrock Rovers Derry, probably match of the weekend. A cracking game upcoming here in Talib. I'm sure it'll be a sellout as well. In the first division, we have Kerry Treaty United, interesting game there. Waterford Galway United, Wexford at Lone Town, Finn Harps Bray, and on Saturday night we have Longford Town v Cove Ramblers, 7:30 kickoff. And of course we have the big kickoff, the Women's National League, the upcoming fixture for the first weekend there: Shells Cork, Galway United Wexford Youth, Sligo Rovers, Shamrock Rovers, Treaty United Bows, and finally at Lone Town Peamount. Remember to tune in to League of Ireland Voice Notes this Friday night. Oisin Langan and the team began post-match reaction from the ground, so be sure to tune in. I want to thank all our guests on this week's show, and we'll chat to you all next week.